Demon spawn. Told her to meet us at the bus stop. We first met in the inclusion room. Dee was new and I was there because I had to be. Teachers monitoring me after I had to move school. Jenny said, 13. Black hair framed her gaunt face. Strands covered the sides of her eyes. She made sure her collars were erect, covering her neck. My old school was shit. All I did was give this girl some gummies. She fell sick, so it was my fault. I mean, I didn't make her eat them. Jenny looked at the side of the armchair. Gummies had weed in them. It was a blast. I would eat them all the time, so I gave her some, and I got kicked out. Well, that's why I was in the inclusion room at the new school. Dee was there because she was transitioning, but I think they wanted to keep an eye on her too. We became mates. You know, I was telling Raddy, I think I was meant to meet her. Fate or something. Jenny turned and looked at Hamish, who was sat on the skirting above the curtain. His eyes glistened as he watched her. He's still watching me. Why did he drag me here? Damage control, I said. What you talking about, mister? Did you give out gummies at your new school too? Jenny smiled. For the first time, she looked like an ordinary disheveled teenager. Only I knew something was amiss. An empty chamber within her. It should have been full, completely to the brim, particularly at her age. I watched her as she twirled her hair with her fingers. It was all Raddy's idea, you know. He wanted to make a list. I just helped him. Jenny tilted her head, peering at me. You don't believe me. Nobody believes me. Where do you think you are? I said. I don't know. Hell, it doesn't matter what you believe. Here, we only deal with what is. I peered at Jenny, who shifted her feet. If you prefer, I can show you hell. Or you can continue your account. Jenny looked at the side of her chair. Something I read online. This tribe in some other country believes that if you kill someone, they're stuck with you forever. Kinda cool. Made sense to me. Dee was cool like that. I liked her a lot. So did Raddy. So it should be her. I gave Dee some gummies. I told her they were weed gummies to get her high. These ones were laced with something else. Dee fell sick. Really sick. Her mum took her to hospital. I told Raddy that it was nearly done. My first one. But then she came out a few days later. Dee didn't say anything to anyone. She was a mate. I texted Dee again, told her to meet us at the bus stop, near the park. We could hang out. It was raining, so me and Raddy waited by the bus stop. It was all planned out. Raddy was going to do it. Dee got off the bus carrying a white umbrella. We went for a walk in the park. When we got near the toilets, Raddy barged Dee, knocking her on the mud. Stab, stab, stab. He rammed his knife in her, but then he stopped. Do it, I shouted, but he just stood there. He said he didn't want to kill her, so he dropped the knife and ran off. I grabbed the knife. Dig, 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 dig. I kept ramming that blade into Dee. I kept doing it until she stopped moving. That's what happened. Jenny looked at the fireplace. They turned my house upside down looking for evidence and all that stuff. Mum said they found 4 dead squirrels and 2 dead cats in our garden. Jenny touched the back of her left hand, tentatively, sliding her fingers back and forth. Went to prison after that. I'm not the biggest, so this one woman kept coming around my cell. Sharon, big fat woman. She wanted us to be friends, promised to take care of me. I knew she wasn't going to give up, so I invited her in. She lay down on my bunk and told me to get undressed. I did, slowly. Reaching for my toothbrush under my pillow, I rammed it in her throat. Dee all over again. Again, again, again. Jenny smiled. I'm not stupid. I needed a weapon in this hole. Mum sent me money, so I bought a few toothbrushes. One thing I can do is keep going, so I sharpened the end of a tiny plastic toothbrush. Kept scraping it day and night. Being small worked for me. I got small hands, you see, so didn't need much for the handle. Jenny looked at me. Sharon didn't move ever again. Jenny's eyes were blank. Kinda liked digging Sharon, but they stuck me in solitary. At times, I made a list in my head. Knew what I was going to do when I got out. My lawyer was one of them. He was useless. A guard and a couple of others. Jenny looked at the flames in the fireplace. Did you know some places can be really quiet, like with no sound? Like this place, outside. It has no sound. I nodded. There are places that hold no sound. They can be very painful. I said, I didn't mind it so much. One thing about solitary is that it's boring. My lawyer got a psychiatrist in to see me. Weekly visits with her. Letters from Raddy and my mum coming in once in a while was all I had. All the donuts in here, in general population, kept away from me. But it had its perks. One inmate was willing to trade with me. She thought I was a psycho or something. Is what it is, I guess. Jenny shook her head. Raddy was doing it tough. He wrote that he couldn't make a list because he was on someone else's list. And a bunch of them won't leave him alone. After that, I didn't hear from him again. He hung himself. Mum was all I had left. She'd come visit me regularly. Jail was really boring. I needed to do something, but I was being watched. After my toothbrush got taken away, they gave me this crappy flat spongy one. Couldn't make anything with that. I still had my list in my head. Better get to it, I thought. So I started thinking about how I'm going to make it happen. Been in prison for a while, so I was able to get a couple of small things I needed. Get through my list and I'm all good. Did you enjoy it? Jenny looked at me. Mister, I'd be happy to shove a blade in your throat right now. Hamish hissed, exposing his teeth. Jenny looked away at the side of her chair. Do not test his mettle, young lady. He will not like the outcome. Am I done? I shook my head. Jenny looked at the floor near the fireplace. Tell me something. Is Dee Dee stuck with you? Jenny shook her head. You cannot attach two souls together. You do not possess that power, I said. Jenny glared at me. Please continue. Mum came to visit a couple of days later. She'd already put in visiting orders each week, so I was booked up. I prepared myself. It hurt a little, but I could live with it for what I needed to do. Did enjoy preparing my plan. Have a lot of time to think in a cell, so that's what I did. Jenny rubbed the side of her right eye and then pulled her collars tight around her throat. It was nice to see her. She would always put her hands on the table so that we could pretend she was holding my hands. I looked at her. She was always talking. I didn't even have to say anything. She just kept on. I watched her for a while. Then, grab. I grabbed her hands. Yank. I pulled her straight towards me. Slam. I whacked her head on the table. Thrust. Dig. 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 That's when the guards grabbed me and ripped the shiv from my hand. I looked at my plimsoll under the table as they dragged me away. Jenny smiled. I hid the shiv in the side of my plimsoll. You could never tell it was in there by just looking at it. Jenny looked at the flames in the fireplace. Guards threw me in solitary again. One more person, mister, and I'm out of there. I'd kept a razor in my mouth, hidden between my cheek and my teeth. Had taped the edges so it didn't cut my mouth. When the guards left me alone, I took it out. Jenny pulled her collars down, exposing a thin cut across her neck. Did this, and that's it, Hamish hissed. A deep resonance filled the room. I watched Jenny as she turned towards a red haze filtering into the room. It solidified, forming into several towering figures with horns and black long fur. Only their eyes were yellow. Teeth protruded from their mouths. The figure at the front of the others looked at me. Gatekeeper, she belongs to us. What? Jenny said. Hamish leapt off the skirting and landed between the demons and my chair. Jenny, before you decide, I would like you to meet someone. It's my mum, isn't it? I nodded. I heard that about this place after I slit my throat. I was buried. No big deal, just the workers and a priest. I watched it happen. I think I stood there for days. Only there is no night or day, is there? And these whispers came. They kept talking to me. They told me that someone will come for me and it will bring me here. They told me the tricks you'd play to get me to choose. And you, Jenny pointed at the demon. You're Angelus, right? Bravo, little girl. Angelus smiled, exposing his horrid teeth. Mister, I don't want to see my mom, so I'm not going anywhere with you. You, she said, pointing at Angelus. If I come with you, can I kill? I'll teach you more than that. Angelus offered his hand. Jenny, you go with them. I will not be so forgiving next time, I said. She smiled. I know. Jenny took Angelus's hand. Within seconds, a red haze had enveloped her. It fleeted away. Jenny's screams echoed down the corridor before it was silenced. Oh yes, let's get to it. I strode out the room followed by Hamish. We entered the waiting room where Jenny's mother was stood. She's not coming, is she? Jenny's mother said. She didn't even want to see me in prison. I could tell she just put up with it. So why would she see me now? Jenny's mother wiped her eyes. Where did I go wrong? Why did she do that to that poor girl? You did nothing wrong. She was on this path even before you were her mother. I could not force her to come and see you, but I wanted you to know that I gave her the option. I touched my right hand on my heart and gave her a gentle nod. Hamish will see you home, I said. Jenny's mother gave me a slight nod. Hamish walked deeper into the room. She followed him. It turned into a quaint kitchen in a semi-detached house with a man and 2 young children eating breakfast. I returned to the lounge and sat down. I did not have the heart to tell Jenny's mother about Jenny's nature. What good would it do to tell her that Jenny was a demon spawn, a soul so destructive that it commits 5 acts to seal her fate to be a demon? The first, kill innocents. Jenny's garden revealed dead squirrels and cats. The second, Dee Dee, a friend. Third, the woman in prison, sealed the appetite for murder. Fourth, a person she loved, a mother. Fifth, self-murder. Jenny did all that without a demon whispering in her ear, or by any external influence whatsoever. What is the next evolution for this soul? It is to be a demon. You could have tried harder to convince her, you say. I could have, but I'm not here to make choices for people, and I will certainly not interfere when they've decided. Yours is to err, and yours is to learn. I will say this, even demons can be redeemed. So for those of you who like the good versus evil theme, there is still a bit of hope for the good guys. Both Hamish and I knew this from the moment Jenny arrived at the halfway house, that she was demon spawn, and she was always going to go with Angelus. That is her nature for now. It can be changed, but that will be up to her too. I need to think, what is behind the whispers, coaching my guests before they arrive here? This is a little worrying. Good night for now. See you next Sunday at 11. Stay safe. Don't die in your sleep. Godspeed.